Know some of you girlies have great relationships from Hinge. This is not one of those stories. A couple months ago, I went on a date with this guy in New York. I can't believe I'm just telling this story, but we met on Hinge, so you already know how it's gonna go. He asked me if I want to go to a hookah lounge. I say no because I don't smoke hookah. It gives me headaches, makes me feel nauseous, so I say no. He says, okay, like meet me at the Ritz at 8 p.m. for drinks. Fine, great, let's do it. Let him know it's a 10-minute Uber ride. He's like, oh, that's nice. Like, it's right across the street from me, so I'm just gonna walk. Like, okay, red flag number one, that's already so annoying. Like, why would you pick a place that's right across the street from you and then make me come to you? Like, what are you? I show up to the date and I look nice, as always, and this guy's wearing skinny jeans and a jersey style hoodie. Red flag number two. Listen, like, just put in like a little bit, like, why are you wearing that? We get to talking and he's asking me about my goals and I'm talking about like my aspirations for my career. This man has the audacity to say, and who's gonna pay for that? Me. Me. And when I say that, he says the most sexist, misogynistic thing, basically saying, no, you have it all wrong. What you need to do, you're pretty enough. You just need to date a rich man. And that's it. Like, that's what you need to be doing. You're so confused with all these aspirations and career goals that you have. You need to sit down, be quiet, and marry a rich man. Him, of course, he's insinuating. So he's telling me that I need to just marry a rich man and forget all of the career goals I have for myself. And then he proceeds to tell me that for every $250,000 a man makes, he deserves 8 cheating allegations. You can't make this up, bro. You can't make it up. He's telling me to marry a rich man and let him cheat on me because he makes enough money. Are you crazy? You must be crazy. I'm ordering another drink because at this point I just need to drink through this conversation. And he leans over and kisses me. We're literally sitting at the bar and shoves his tongue down my throat. There's tons of people everywhere. I also just met you. I don't remember this guy's name and you have your tongue down my throat right now in front of a bunch of people. Also, like, this is very weird. I was honestly just taken aback. Like, I don't even know. I didn't even know. I was shocked. I was so thrown off. I definitely should have left at this point. He decides that he's done drinking. He's like, let's go across the street. We go across the street to where? A freaking hookah lounge. After I already told you I don't want to go to the hookah lounge, then proceeds to sit on the inside, you know, like the 2-seater tables and one's kind of like at the booth. He proceeds to sit on the inside, order a thing of hookah, and I'm sitting on the like outside chair, singing this freaking like, how slow are you? Look, he's a regular here. Everyone freaking knows him. He starts smoking the hookah and blowing it in my face. Mind you, it's only been a few minutes that we've been here, and at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm absolutely out of here. Ta-ta, guy. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna head out. And you know what he says? Oh, you don't want to stay? You want to stay here with me? You want to hang out with me? You want to come sit next to me at the booth? You want to stay? You don't want to stay? No, bro. I don't want to. I don't want to stay. I don't want to stay. I never wanted to be here to begin with. I don't want to. I was like, you know what? You can walk me out if you want. And his response is, why would I do that? Why would I do that? So I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'm gonna go. I don't need you to walk me out. I was just, you know what? Just good night. Good night. Sayonara. So when I get back to my place, I just shoot him a polite text. Don't even know why. I should have just blocked him. I don't know. But I sent him this text saying like, hey, nice meeting you, but I don't think it's gonna work out. And this is the text he sends back to me. I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand what happens between the two ears of a man.
I was told a really disturbing story recently, and it's taken me a little while to be able to put this video together because, yeah, it's quite frightening, but I do feel like it could raise awareness and potentially help someone stay out of danger. So if you use Tinder, this video is for you. So this actually happened to a friend of a friend of a friend. So I don't actually know the person. So if this is you, I do apologise, but I was told this story and I do think that sharing it could help, potentially help someone. So a lady, she was speaking to a guy on Tinder. They were talking for a couple of weeks. They hadn't FaceTimed, but they were talking on the phone and WhatsApping constantly. They arranged to meet at a bar in London, a bar that he chose. On the day, she said she felt a little bit uneasy, so she decided to ask her best friend to come with her. So her best friend went into the bar first, where she was meeting this guy. Let's call him Adam, and we'll call her Jane. So Jane's friend has gone into the bar about 5 minutes before Jane did. Jane then goes in, going in to meet Adam. So Adam's not there when Jane gets there. Jane's waiting there for about 10 minutes. Her friend is in eyesight at the bar. So she's just waiting at the bar, just making sure everything's okay. Adam then walks in. Now she notices straight away that Adam's pictures had definitely been enhanced. He looked different to the pictures what she'd shown. Now he had a Essex accent. So he sat down, they've had a little chat, they're talking, they're getting on fine. Jane then says, right, I'm just going to pop to the loo, because they were talking about going to another bar. So she gets up, goes to the toilet. Her friend is watching. As her friend watches, she notices Adam put something in to Jane's drink. She then runs towards the toilet to let Jane know. When she told Jane this, Jane said something does feel off. There's something about this person, it's just not sitting right with me. Something's not sitting right. So Jane's friend then says, fine, let's leave. They walk towards the exit of the bar. As they're leaving, there is a large van outside with 5 men. They're all looking at the girls, looking at them in a strange way, as if they recognise Jane. All of a sudden, Adam comes running out of the bar towards them. Jane and her friend start to run towards the main road, and Adam starts to shout at them in a different language. They said they're not sure what language it was, but the men that he was with outside, they looked Eastern European. So they all then were together, and Jane believes that they were trying to kidnap her, or trying to drug her and get her into that van. Now, this story gave me chills. And I've actually tried to film this video about 4 times now and struggled, because imagine that. Like, I won't even want to imagine that. So please, guys, if you are using online dating, there are so many different things that can go wrong. You don't know who these people are, so please always make sure you FaceTime them. You know exactly who you're talking to. Check if they have social media. Just be really, really wary. Meet in a place that you know, that you've chosen, somewhere there's lots of people around. And just be very, very, very careful and safe.
Welcome to This Is Why I'm Still Single, dating stories that will have you cringing so hard you'll understand why I'm still single. Years ago, I went out with a guy who was military and in law enforcement. For whatever reason, that's something that I happen to be into. And so I had a really great experience with him on the first date. Everything was great. Second date, everything was great. Third date, everything was great. This guy was dreamy. The conversation was good. I didn't see any red flags. I am always a little cautious about military and police officers, not because they're bad people, but just because sometimes they have, some PTSD, some rage issues, things like that. So I'm always kind of cautious, but again, it's something that I do happen to be attracted to. So, it is what it is. So after the third date, he was so intentional with all of the dates, had no problem spending money, took me out, all the things. And so he said, hey, would you be comfortable with coming to my house and let me just take order in or cook and, watch a movie or something like that? And I think because he had spent so much money, I was like, you know what? I don't want to keep making him spend money. So, I'm comfortable as long as he knows where the boundary is. And so I told him very clearly, hey, there's not going to be any like hokey pokey, but as long as you're cool with that, let's do it. He seemed to have no problems, no red flags. So he invited me over, gave me the address. So I knock on the door and I tell, I had sent him a text because he wasn't answering. I sent him a text saying, hey, I'm here at your house. Let me in if you can. He sends me a text back, hey, I'm in the back bedroom, so just let yourself in. That's weird to me because like, what if I'm at the wrong house? I don't know. It's just uncomfortable. I don't know where I'm going, but whatever. So I let myself in. I come in, I stand there. I'm like, I don't know where the back bedroom is. So I'm like yelling to him and he says, follow my voice. So I go back into the room and he has probably 20 or 25 pew-pews all across his room. He's like cleaning them, putting them together, I guess. Like I don't taking inventory. I'm not really sure what all he was doing, but they were everywhere. And he had one in his hand that appeared to be loaded. And he just stands there and says, hey, how's it going? I'm like, you do know I'm a female who is not as strong and much more vulnerable than you are in this situation. I barely know you. And you think this is a great plan to have all of this stuff? Like, what's your deal here, dude? So I wanted to be cautious and not like irritate him because who knows what could happen at that point. So I just said like, hey, what's going on? He said, just cleaning some of these and just kind of like looking to see what I have and like what I want to buy next. I said, okay, well, I understand that. I just am not sure how comfortable I am like being in a room full of all of these things when I don't really know you that well. So is it possible for us to go into the other room and watch a movie? He starts getting defensive. He's like, I asked you on our first date how you felt about, these firearms. And so like, I don't understand what your issue is. What is your problem? Stay tuned for part 2. Welcome to part 2 of This Is Why I'm Still Single. The pew guy, the guy who was cleaning his pew. If you haven't already watched it, go back and watch part 1 because it's not going to make any sense. And the reason I say pew, just in case you don't know, is because TikTok like flags everything. Okay, so at this point, we're in his room, surrounded by all these things. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. And so I just said, hey, would you mind if we go and just watch a movie? He's getting really defensive, saying that he didn't think I had any issues with these. And I wasn't really sure how to respond. I take a second and I think about it because I'm aware of people's behaviors. And I know that the last thing I want to do is make this guy, escalated in his anger or frustration. Like I'm at his house and, I'm at his mercy, right? So I am probably a little nicer than some people would be just because I know how people can go from 0 to 100 very quickly. So again, I said, hey, I don't have a problem with any of these. It's just that I don't know you. And so because of that, I just would be much more comfortable if we just put these away. And then, maybe at a different time you could show me what they are and we could talk about them. But for now, I just want to be more comfortable if you put them away. He starts getting so angry. He starts getting so frustrated. He said, why are women always thinking they're the victim? Why do women always think that men are going to hurt them? Like, you think that I'm going to hurt you this is the part that scared me. He said, if I was going to hurt you, I wouldn't need a pew to do that. Okay. Thank you, sir, for all the red flags here in this situation. Thank you for telling me that very obvious thing that I already know. Like, to me, because men and women are so different and men's strength is so much more than women's. To me, it would be like me walking up to a child and being like, that I could, unalive you if I wanted to, just using my bare hands, right? Like, why would I do that? Like, the power differentiation here is completely, it's just not fair. It's like, it's not a fair scale, but I digress. So at that point I knew I needed to get out. So I just told him, hey, I think I'm going to go. Thank you so much for inviting me over. I will actually Cash App you or Venmo you some money for the food that you already paid for to get taken in this week or tonight, but I'm going to go. And I only did that just because I didn't want to upset him. He ends up coming outside with me with the pew, brings it out with him, and is like, here, you can bring yours over too. Like, I'm not scared of it. Why are you scared of it? I mean, just like completely triggered and frustrated. And the entire time as I'm trying to get in my car, he's trying to talk me down with it still in his hand. And I said, hey, I'm going to go. I will call the police if you continue doing this. And of course he was the police. So he's like, please, I'm sure I know every single person who's going to come to my house. I'm like, and this is another reason that I can't date you, because that's exactly what's going to happen anytime I'm uncomfortable. You're going to say, go ahead and call them, because I already know that I'm going to get out of it. I ended up having to block his number because he would not stop calling me, contacting me, telling me that I wasn't a victim. I'm not trying to say I'm a victim, bro, but like, I am not comfortable with you. I don't know, maybe I need to change my philosophy on after 3 dates. Maybe it needs to be like 10 dates. I'm not really sure. But what do you guys think about this? Wild, right? But this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm still single.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new, like, subscribe, please. So let's get right into the video. So I decided to comment on this particular video because I kind of have an experience with it. I wasn't kidnapped or anything, but I have a story that kind of I can talk about relating it to this particular video. So long story short, I met this guy on Tinder. We were talking for about a month and then we finally decided to meet, right? So when we decided to meet, it's supposed to be in a public place, right? And this guy, before we decided to meet, he kept talking about me coming to see him in his house, and I was always declining. I was like, no, if you're ever going to take me out on a date, it's supposed to be an actual date, a real date in public, because I've never met you before. And I don't think you have any ill intentions towards me, but just to be on the safer side. So the day of the date came, we went out, we had fun. Then later that evening, we went to another place, a bar. Before we even left the place, I was very sober. So it was around 8:30 p.m., almost 9 p.m. And then I decided it was late. I had to go home because of traffic. I was like an hour away from where we went. So I decided to go home. I told him about it, and he was like, okay, cool, let's go home. Then we ordered a ride. The ride came and we were getting ready to go, and was like, my house is just like 15 minutes away from here or 20 minutes away from here. Let's just go and like see my place. I mean, since you like each other, everything is fine. You're going to be my girlfriend, so eventually you will come and see my house. And the date went well and all. So I decided to go and check out this place. I was like, yeah, why not? Like, sure. But see, that was the first time I was online. That was the first time I had joined an online dating app, and I knew there were bad people around, but it never crossed my mind that he could do something to harm me. I didn't think that far. It wasn't in my peripheral. So I went to check out his place. Everything was fine. It was dangerous. That situation that I put myself in was very risky. He could have done anything to me in that house when I went to meet him. It was very, very dangerous. I didn't think that far. I was very naive. I had just joined online dating apps. Everything was new to me, and I met this guy. I liked him, and I went in blindly. I didn't think about it. Now that I think about it, I don't think I would go to someone's house like that on a first date without knowing them physically, knowing where they lived, knowing how to escape, because I was a woman, he was a man. I am still a woman. I am a woman, he is a man. He could have done anything to me. He could have harmed me in a certain way. He could have SA'd me, and I wouldn't have been able to do a thing. And that was the kind of situation I want you guys to avoid. That was the kind of situation I put myself in back then. And even though he didn't end up doing that thing, it was still very scary. Someone else would or could have done that, and there was nothing I would have been able to do about it. It would have happened, and then who knows? So I just wanted to share the story with you guys so that you know to be careful not to go to anyone's house or meet with any guy in his house. It's just very scary. At least not on the first date. After a couple of dates, when you've gotten to know this guy really well and you think everything is good, even with that, some guys can just switch up. But that scenario or that situation will be way better than meeting a guy for the first time, knowing him online, knowing this person he has showed you he is, and then meeting him in real life and not knowing if he is exactly that person or he has other intentions. That is the one thing about online dating apps that is scary. You meeting the people in real life, you can tell body language and gives it up, the way they behave towards you, people around them will give certain things up. You'll be able to feel it. But with meeting people online, sometimes you feel it, but you cannot foresee the future. You cannot know this person's actual intentions. It is very scary. And it was a very good thing that this lady brought her friend with her to monitor the guy without the guy knowing. Because in my story, there were a few times I had to go to the loo. So I went to the loo and I left my drink, came back. None of those things happened to me. I was lucky. He wasn't a bad guy, but someone else would or could have done all those things to me. So now my policy, going out on a date with someone, I leave. If I'm going, I'm taking my drink with me. If the place is not sanitary enough for me to take my drink with me, when I leave it, I come back. It's either I don't drink anything at all, or I have to get something else to drink. But I was just lucky someone else would not have been. And looking at the other girl, the girl in the story, the guy drugged her, and something bad could have happened. Now back to the previous story though. The the guy seems really, really suspicious to me. Maybe he didn't have any other motives, but hanging around those things, those weapons, right before the girl was coming over, it was just very, very suspicious to me. He could have been doing any other thing, he could have been any other place, and he decided to be cleaning those things before the girl got there. Why? Why would you do that? I mean, the girl is weak. I'm not saying all women are weak, but men are typically stronger than women. He could have, it's just a very, very different situation for a woman to just be in walking in. What did he expect her to do? Oh, cool, you're cleaning them. Let me help you. Oh, wow, this is so nice. Can I have one? Or like, what kind of reaction was he expecting from her? I don't know what he was expecting from her, but I would have done the same thing as the lady. I would have been like, okay, like, should I go home? Like, why are you doing this at this time? This is supposed to be a date. Why are you doing this at this time? Like, give me reasons, because it doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. Okay, everyone. So this has been good, and the video has been long enough. I don't want it to stretch any longer since this is like my first video. I do have other stories that I want to share on this platform, so I will maybe make a part 2 of this video to continue with those stories, and it will probably be longer than this one. But this being my first video is why I have decided to make this shorter than usual. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next story.